everybody. This is Mike Tedesco, the editor-in-chief of Wrestleview.com.
And Victoria Tedesco.
Welcome to the In-Your-Face Raw review.
Well,
Your face.
That was really in your face.
It's in your face.
Literal in your face.
Literally in your face. Tonight was the In-Your-Face Raw, so we have to do the In-Your-Face Raw review.
Have to do it. Have to.
It is post-Raw number 97. 97.
It's so funny because it seems like a lifetime ago, but it also doesn't. It seems like we haven't been doing this very long.
I know.
But it does seem like we've been doing it a long time, too.
You know what's funny? Like, I turned on one of our Raw reviews, just a random one from, like, early on.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, every now and then, like, I'll go back and, like, read one of my recaps that I've done as well. And I'm like, I watched that? I talked about that? I dissected that? Like...
Well, yeah, we went through pretty, like, brutal Raws over the time. And, you know, not even so much... We went through, like, these long-winded Raws that just had no direction, had no... You know, not that anything...
Not that we're not going through that now, still.
Right. But to think about going through those fall months, man, brutal. It's always been a roller coaster. Like, you get the highs of, like, WrestleMania and SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, right? But then you get, like, the fall months.
Yes.
There's always that lull.
Well, in most years, the highs are really high and the lows are really low. But the highs aren't getting as high as they used to anymore,
No.
and the lows are sticking around a lot more than we wanted to.
The lows are getting lower.
The lows are lower, especially in 2020. But... We've survived it, and we've made it to 97 episodes. We are so close to 100 episodes, and we are so close to 1,000 subscribers. If you know somebody who likes wrestling, get them on our channel.
Or not even like somebody who doesn't like wrestling. Just have somebody...
have anybody sign up at this point. Let's just get people signing up. Smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button. Let's go here. And also, I don't know if you knew this, but you can download us on whatever podcast service you want. The audio version of the show also goes out. And we do have people that download that. We thank those people. But, hey, I want to get the word out there some more. Okay. So we're very close. I think we're going to hit 100 in time for the season premiere of Raw.
Oh, yes.
I think we're going to hit it. I think we're going to hit 100 at Sweeps Week.
I do, too.
I'm pretty excited about that.
I do, too.
That should be pretty good. Okay, let's say hi to everybody in the chat room real quick.
Let's do it.
Before we get started here. So we got Mr. V in the chat room tonight.
It's always a treat when Mr. V's in there.
I love Mr. V.
It really is.
He's the best.
It really is.
And Mr. V's, I don't want to put the pressure on him, but he's got some ideas cooking that he might be contributing to Wrestleview pretty soon.
Ooh.
We might see a little bit of the return of Mr. V there. I'm excited. He's talking about it.
Okay.
I don't want to put the pressure on him.
Okay. Don't put any pressure. Just...
I'm excited.
The chips fall where they may.
He's got good ideas still. He hasn't lost it.
Come on.
He still got it.
Did he ever?
He still got
it.
He never lost it, though.
He never lost it.
Andrew Elder in the chat room.
Hello.
Andrew Elder's here. Jorge Oliva is here.
Hello.
Oh, hi. And hola, Familia Tedesco. Do you think there will be a crowd by Royal Rumble? NFL is starting to come back slowly.
I don't know if there will be. I mean, if there is a crowd, it won't be a very big one. Let's just put it that way. I would say most likely not. And if there's any sort of crowd, it's going to be very staged in the sense where you really have to kind of know somebody in the company in order to be like a fan in the arena, or if they not even arena, but wherever they're performing.
Well, there was an interesting thing that kind of appeared today. I sent an email to WWE to confirm this, but I don't mind talking about it on our podcast. I'm not going to report it on the website yet until I'm going to give WWE a chance to get back to me, if they do get back to me for this. Now, WrestleMania 37 week is supposed to take place at the end of March in Los Angeles, and they're going to be at, what the hell is that? The SoFi Stadium.
Okay.
And because, like, of all the delays at SoFi, there are delays at SoFi, but there are also delays for shows at the Staples Center, which is where they're going to be running SmackDown, Hall of Fame, NXT, and the Monday Night Raw. They have rescheduled some of these people to be playing, like some concerts to be playing that would directly conflict with Friday Night SmackDown and NXT TakeOver. And I'm wondering if that's like the first hints that we're getting that WWE absolutely has no intention of running Southern Florida for WrestleMania 37 week.
Yeah.
I mean that it was definitely an interesting thing.
It's definitely
something to watch out for.
Yeah, something to definitely look out for.
Something to watch out for. But yeah, I'm very curious to see if WWE. I doubt they're gonna get back to me about that, and then I'll just have to run the story.
Or not anytime soon, at least.
Well, yeah, but I just don't see that that they're gonna have WrestleMania at least, let alone Royal Rumble. NFL is bringing people back, but it's like, it's not a lot of people.
Well, the thing about
and honestly, it's like, what's the point at this point? Yes, it would be terrible to go an entire calendar year without fans in attendance, real fans. Not just like, some people at the Performance Center and bringing their friends in and stuff like that. Like, it would be terrible, But if that's what's best, I mean, this is just theater. Broadway shut down. It's like, these are just fans. It's not a sporting event. It's not like don't put them at risk.
But even sporting events,
they shouldn't. I don't think sports should have fans either.
No, because even sporting events, I mean, MLB is a perfect example. They were kind of like the guinea pigs, and look what happened. I mean, it was like COVID central, when they first came back. And the reason why I would say like Royal Rumble, most likely not, is just because a lot of things are opening up right now, but October's slowly approaching, and the flu's coming back. So that's where, and I don't know if you've heard about this, but there's a twindemic going on.
Yes, the twindemic.
So it's basically just a situation where it's basically a situation not yet. So it's basically just a situation where
you're gonna have COVID and you're gonna have
the flu. So and if you have this twindemic happening, I just don't foresee, like, even today I had a couple doctor's appointments and they offered, they didn't even have the flu shot even to offer me. They were like, they're like, normally we'd offer you the flu shot, but we don't have any available anymore. So they're in crisis mode right now. So things are slowly opening up, but they're going to be shutting down just as fast as they opened up very quickly.
Right.
And I think that the Rumble would be pushing it.
It's too soon. Yeah. And it's, and like I was saying before, it's just not worth it.
Because you're in January, right? The Rumbles, that's when it is normally.
End of January, it's like right at the height of all that stuff.
I mean, I remember I got sick that one year. I couldn't go with you and Vin to the Rumble, and I got up, so.
Absolutely. Okay, let's continue saying hi to people. Frank McMahon's in the chat room tonight. Frank, my buddy, my good buddy Frank. Jerome Weiland, hello. I wanted to say hi to everyone.
Hi,
I am
Jerome.
in between housing. I am more than likely going to be on hiatus until after I have relocated. Yes, good luck with your move, Jerome.
Yes.
Nafis.
Nafis.
Our dear friend Nafis is here. Only here for the Tedescos, never for the wrestling. Hello, friends. CJ's here.
Hey.
CJ's going to be happy with some of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about tonight. Billy Hefner.
Uncle Billy.
He was on Raw the entire time. I don't know like where to look. Like usually when I'm recapping, I can't look at the crowd as well. I'm wondering if Billy made it to TV today. Jamma 7301 in the chat room, so we say hi to Jamma. And if
hello.
I missed anybody, saying hello. And Quentin Walter, did we say hello to Quentin yet?
No, we did
because
not.
Quentin is battling COVID and he's whooping COVID's ass. He's whooping COVID's ass.
I know. I just feel bad because that's got to be rough.
Yeah,
it really is.
I can't. And Frank McMahon says, I'd argue wearing masks and still practicing good cleanliness and social distancing can and will help fight the flu as well. Now, good cleanliness and social distancing at a wrestling event, that's another reason why you don't bring the fans back.
I mean,
there's no such thing at wrestling events. They're all
Chamber,
smelly.
I literally got coughed on the entire night.
How about when we went to Battleground and just the smells of the people? Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh,
Anyway.
do you remember when Adam? Just real quick, because this is relevant. Do you remember when you, Doug, and Adam, and Goosey all went to what town did you guys go to when you all went to All Out?
Chicago.
It was Chicago.
Yeah.
Remember when you guys all went?
Yes.
And then Adam came back and he's like, I got the crowd cold. Like
no. Con sickness.
Con sickness or whatever.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like when you're not around that many people.
I didn't get sick though.
Okay, that's fabulous. But
I have a great immune system. I'm just saying.
No one's talking about you, but I'm just saying in general, like you do tend, if you're not around large crowds like that, you do tend to get sick.
Yes, I know. Especially, again, wrestling fans are not exactly like the most clean people on earth, so there's that. Okay, so there's some news that we have to talk about before we even get going here. News pertaining to Raw, and that is, so last week we talked about Ivar. And we're just calling it before we even see any reports and stuff like that. Last week, Ivar put up the X sign when he did his suicide dive. And you know my feeling about the constant dives every damn week. Well, WWE initially said that he had a cervical injury, which, my God, listening to Michael Cole tonight, try to, like when Eric was coming to the ring, trying to explain what happened to Ivar. And he's like, Ivar last week on Raw had an injury to his cervical, because I know he was going to say cervix, and then he was like, wait a minute, I can't. That's not the right body part, and I don't think Ivar has one anyway. It has to be the cervical. They can't say stinger, they can't say neck injury. It had to be a cervical injury, and he botched the wording on it. And I was like, in a really sad situation that this is. That was pretty damn funny. Anyway, WWE initially said that he was brought to a local medical facility to
never the hospital
to just be evaluated, but he's expected to make a full recovery. Well, Ivar is in Birmingham, Alabama, preparing for neck surgery tomorrow. Was it worth it for that stupid dive?
No, it's never ever worth it. And we've talked about this time and time again on these throwaway Raws. You don't do stuff like that.
You don't do stuff like that even on big Raws. Like those should just be saved for special occasions, like a really big match. And I
wouldn't even say for every pay-per-view. I would say your biggest shows of the year. And maybe even one of the biggest shows of the every year. I don't think it should be ever a thing. It should be habitual. And they make it very, very common, and there's no wow factor to it. It's just dumb. It's dumb.
I can't, like, it's the lazy approach to wrestling.
Well, how many times?
Because most of the time they send these people out there, they don't give them any time to get their match over. So how are you supposed to tell a story in the ring? So it's just, let's just do a bunch of high spots. But the problem with high spots is, you're going. It's just all gonna blend together, and no one's gonna get over. And they're killing themselves doing this.
No,
look at the knee injuries. Look at the shoulder injuries. Look, now Ivar with a neck injury. We've seen Cesaro spike himself on his head doing a suicide dive. Suicide dives are. There's a reason why it's called the suicide dive.
Yeah, of course.
It's a super dangerous move.
Super dangerous move.
I cannot believe that they've made it like such a throwaway nothing move.
They almost made it as common as a clothesline.
Yes, or a headlock. It's like every show you're going to see at least two or three suicide dives.
Yeah, exactly. Not even just once.
And don't forget about the damn somersault plancha that we constantly see.
I don't know.
I remember in 2002. When Shawn Michaels was making his big return to wrestling after the 4-year hiatus due to the back injury.
Yes.
And I remember on the Raw before SummerSlam, he hit a plancha on Triple H. And I remember I just fucking came out of my seat. I was just like, oh my God. Because it was a plancha and he had the back injury, and it's like you weren't seeing dives on Raw like that every week, and I was just like, man, that was special.
Yeah, because moves were protected.
That was special.
Then. Well, it's
now it's just like you see a dive and it's just like, yawn next. What do you got for me? Like, you can't give away the farm every single time.
The problem that I have is the fact that, when you have they've smartened up in a lot of aspects, especially with the concussion stuff, but then it's stuff like that where they're still very much reckless, and they allow their performers to be able to do these things, and no moves are sacred anymore. So it's like, even your best performer of a suicide dive is always at risk of severely injuring themselves.
All you have to do is just get your feet caught on the damn ropes. I mean, look what happened to Sasha Banks that one time when she tried to do it against Asuka.
Yeah.
I mean, Sasha Banks is botch prone, but that's all it takes.
I would say the best in the company of suicide dives would be somebody like Seth Rollins.
Daniel Bryan's good.
But they shouldn't be doing it all the time either, though.
Right, but because when you're crashing into the barricade constantly, even if you're just like hitting with your shoulder, there's other jolting that takes place over here. You're playing with fire every time you do it. You're playing with fire.
You're closer and closer to
you're closer and closer to an injury. If you're doing the somersault plancha, you're closer to blowing out your knee.
Career-ending injuries too. It's not just like not that any injury isn't, obviously you should always take it seriously, but when something like that happens, obviously there's no coming back from it.
Yeah.
You come back from an ankle injury.
And it's such laziness. It's just lazy. We're not good enough wrestlers to tell a story, so we're just going to throw in a whole bunch of dives. They need to they have to condition the audience to get out of this, but then friggin' Raw ends with Keith Lee and Drew McIntyre doing stereo somersault planchas. It's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And Keith Lee landing on the Retribution midgets? Come on. He could really hurt somebody. He could hurt himself if they don't catch him.
Everybody can get hurt.
Look what happened to Montez Ford. Remember that somersault plancha that he did right before WrestleMania this year?
Oh my god.
Where he just sailed and Austin Theory was just completely out of position and he just landed on the...
That was scary.
Man.
That was scary. Scary.
Scary Frankie's right here. He says the issue is Triple H and NXT agents don't break the bad habits of these guys to be ready for the main roster. They all blend together move-wise and injury risk-wise as well. Yes. Yeah, it has to start somewhere. It has to start in NXT, but like a lot of people are just saying, well, get with the program. This is where wrestling's moving to, and then you turn on AEW and you see that they got 1 million viewers, and it's just the Young Bucks doing 15 dick flips in every single match, and it's like, how do you argue against that? But 1 million people is still a fraction of what they were getting.
It's
yeah,
always,
like people aren't going to be interested in seeing an acrobat show.
I think
it's like I love gymnastics, but like every 4 years for the Olympics. If it was on every year or every month, I wouldn't watch it. But I'll watch it because it's on the Olympics and it's only a few days.
Variety in the Olympics too. I mean, think about it. Even with a floor routine, you have other stuff in between the big flips and everything else. So it's not just that.
Right.
But I don't know. The whole point at the end of the day is the fact that they're not doing everything that they can in their power to protect these people.
No, they're definitely not.
And
I mean, the wrestling business has always been, about the meat factory, and it's like, I mean, no greater example than what happened with Matt Hardy recently, and if Matt Hardy was totally fine, if he had no concussion, why is he going away for a little while? Why do we have to wait to see him go for the AEW World Title if he's so healthy?
I don't know.
Why couldn't
when I had my concussions, I wasn't back right away. I had to stop dancing.
That's usually what happens when
I
you
had
have
to
a concussion.
stop for a while.
But Tony Khan, the great Tony Khan, it's like, I'm not saying that wrestling needs to go back to like the way it used to be. Like, I like some of the advances that they've made, but if you continue to push the envelope, it's like, like each generation moves further and further into just like pure acrobatics. Where's the line drawn? Because like I feel like they've gone as far as they can possibly go. We've seen them do literally every single thing that you could possibly do that could be done with safety and repetition. Like what else is there to do? I mean, now they're dropping guys on their upper shoulders, their necks. They do all that stuff. It's like,
You know what's funny? The company is literally the saying of, what do you want me to do, backflips? I can't keep doing backflips for you.
Right,
Like,
right. And nobody cares about backflips anymore. Nobody cares about backflips. So I don't know. It sucks what happened to Ivar. He won't be the last that this happens to.
No,
you know,
he certainly will
we
not.
we see this happen every now and then we have the conversation about dives, and then it goes away because WWE's lazy. They're not planning anything more than a week out, and that's the other thing I want to talk about. And Daniel Shell's in the chat room, by the way, so you can remove him from the list.
Daniel.
The list of Victoria.
Daniel.
And that's the other thing I want to talk about is just the fact that, like, this company doesn't plan things out more than just the week ahead.
It's not even a week. Sometimes it's hours before.
Right. Last week they didn't advertise a single match until 90 minutes before the show started, and it paid the price in the ratings. The last week before Monday Night Football, they didn't advertise anything except for some lame-ass, Asuka versus Mickey James match, and a champions versus champions match, which, happened earlier in the night, was kind of forgotten about after. And then later in the week, they started advertising Keith Lee versus Drew McIntyre. Wouldn't that have been nice to advertise last week on Raw to get get people excited about that? Wouldn't it have been nice to advertise Dominic Mysterio versus Seth Rollins in a steel cage match if they friggin' planned things out?
I think certain people have long-term plans for. They have this general idea and they have what they want to do with them, but
they
then
have a direction.
But then they don't. But then for everything else is just kind of left to its own devices and really only seriously talked about hours before.
Right.
The earliest would be a week beforehand.
And now Monday Night Football is here. Monday Night Football is here. They every year they hotshot a bunch of stuff to get you to watch Monday Night Raw heading into Monday Night Football.
And they always give up though.
And then they immediately give up. Like last year, it was Madison Square Garden and Stone Cold Steve Austin. This year, it was in your face and all that stuff. Maybe we might get one reprieve.
Get out of my face.
Maybe we might get one more reprieve with the season premiere where they're gonna hotshot a bunch more matches. But other than that, like,
this isn't the time now. And I spoke about this heavily last week. This is not the time to be phoning it in and now going complacent because Monday Night Football's on. It's like, well, you know what too? You got to keep in mind. Monday Night Football may not be on for as long as you think it is. Right now it is, but the more COVID,
that's a great point.
But the more COVID cases that are going to happen, they're going to happen, people. It might stop right away. So then what? Then what are you left with? Then you're left like, well, okay, you don't have Monday Night Football to be competing with.
Right.
And first of all, you should never, ever, ever, ever have that mentality of like, oh, well, we can't beat them anyway. No, you should always put your best foot forward. If you're genuinely a company that's going to go 367 days a year, for all 12 months, you can't ever be in a situation where you're just going to say, screw it, I'm not going to try for these couple months. Your whole thing is that you are around all year long. Keep people around that time. It's not, you can't start blaming things on, oh, well, it's this time of year, it's this, that, and the other thing, blah, 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 blah. No, it doesn't work that way. So NFL might not be as long around. Right now it is. Might not be around.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that Vince was like he got some pretty tight questions at that investors call, and the next one's coming up at the end of October, and we saw them hit record lows. I mean, yeah, granted you can blame the pandemic and all that stuff, and the Thunderdome gave it a bump, and they're telling good stories on SmackDown, so, and the people are responding. People are watching SmackDown, but on Raw it's like, there's nothing planned out. There's no long-term stories here. It's just like, like they start building up Asuka versus Mickey James, and they just did it tonight, and now they're going to hotshot Zelina Vega into a Raw Women's Championship match. I don't know if that's really going to, make people excited about the women's division.
I don't think so. I think Zelina Vega,
they got the good thing going with Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton, and you got to fit Keith Lee in there somewhere.
But what else?
But if you keep hot-shotting Keith Lee in all these angles, and and half of the matches that Keith Lee has had so far have all ended in either DQ or no contests, you're going to damage him.
You have to protect him.
and it just seems like, okay, well, Keith Lee's here and there's a buzz around him, so let's get as much as we can out of him, like as soon as possible, and then we'll just put him back in the mid card. It's like there's no plan for Keith Lee.
Exactly.
There's no plan at all.
It's
like
not,
why the fuck was he facing Drew McIntyre tonight? Other than just like it's like, ooh, I'm curious about that match. It's a curiosity.
It's a curiosity, but
and that's great. That's great. You get people. Oh, I'm kind of curious to see what they do with Keith Lee and Drew McIntyre.
But don't keep him in
and
the
then
mix.
they tune in and they put this big stipulation on it that if Keith Lee wins, if Randy Orton doesn't show up, then he'll get a WWE title shot. And granted, they could still do a 3-way ambulance match. There's they kind of left that open, but you can't always promote those big matches and then just because you didn't want to give a finish, you send Retribution out there, or you send Randy Orton out there. This time they sent Retribution out there to break it up, and then you don't get a finish. It's like people have seen that for years. When I was doing the retro recaps for WrestleMania, they like WrestleMania 8 had a whole bunch of non-finishes, and people were tired of it then. That was 1992.
Yeah,
it's the same tricks all the time. And then you wonder why, he's getting those tight questions, because if there's no long-term stories to get invested in, why the hell would you want to watch? Again, the only thing that we have advertised for next week's Raw is Braun Strowman versus Dabba-Kato. Okay, on Raw Underground. I'm excited, I guess. I don't know. But what does Raw Underground mean? Uh-oh. I'll answer that question myself. That's the baby. So Victoria will be...
3 teeth came in, everybody.
3 teeth came in for this child. Yes, 3 teeth. So we got that going for us. Dusty finishes. Andrew's talking about dusty finishes from the 80s. Dusty Rhodes' famous thing. Mashoon Walls in the chat room. We say hello to Mashoon. All right. My question just is what are we going to do for Monday Night Football? Again, it's like they are just like the classic, 10-second Tom from 50 First Dates. It's like, oh, we know Monday Night Football is coming up, and, we're just going to hotshot a bunch of stuff. And then it's like, okay, well, now that we hotshotted a bunch of stuff, we don't have any stories to tell now, so we have nothing going into the fall. It's like, you're not going to be successful that way. It's just not going to happen. So they need to concentrate on telling coherent, interesting storylines, even in the winter, even when the money isn't all there, because there are still people that watch, and you want to get more people to watch and stick around watching, and not think that the fall and winter is a throwaway season until Royal Rumble. Try. Okay. Time for the Raw review. Which, as much as I'm, killing them for hot-shotting a bunch of stuff, it was still, it's always fun. Now, Raw opened up. So last week we were missing Tom Phillips, and Michael Cole replaced him. This week we're missing Tom Phillips and Samoa Joe. Michael Cole and Dolph Ziggler are on commentary with Byron Saxton instead, and later on Dolph Ziggler will be replaced by MVP because Dolph went to go fight in Raw Underground. Because I guess he didn't want to commentate anymore. I don't know. But it's like, okay, Tom Phillips is off for 2 weeks. This is a big Raw. It's the Raw heading into Monday Night Football, and they have it branded in your face. You're not going to convince me that Samoa Joe and Tom Phillips both said we're on vacation. We're going on vacation. And that, they were like, okay, no problem. Totally fine. We'll bring in Michael Cole and just, play hot potato with the other third commentator position. I'm it's so hard not to think that Tom Phillips and Samoa Joe both have COVID. I'm not saying that they do, but I'm saying that was my immediate first thought was it has to be COVID. I'm looking at Tom Phillips's Twitter account. He hasn't been very active, so it makes me think that maybe he's under the weather. You never know. Anyway, so I kind of liked it. I liked Ziggler on commentary. I liked I really like I like Michael Cole. Like he's gotten better through the years, and he generally does a really good job. But WWE was really laying it on thick tonight. They had Cole laying it on thick. No other company cares about their fans more than WWE, and that's why we invented the ThunderDome to just have the best experience for our fans. We don't have a couple hundred. There ain't no cardboard cutouts here. This is the ThunderDome with thousands of LED screens, not just hundreds like in the NBA bubble. It's like, yeah, that's cool, except for that incident with the Chris Benoit thing and the KKK thing and the live streamed execution thing. Yeah, it's been just a banner great time for them. Yeah, not really something to really just like go hard on, but it's like so odd that they decided tonight was the night they were going to go hard on when you just know this isn't going to be a highly rated Raw. It'll have a curiosity. I think that next week and the weeks to follow are going to be really just, they're going to be pretty lean indeed. All right. So we got Drew McIntyre coming out. He has a hairline fracture to his jaw, and one bad shot to his jaw will make him have to have it wired shut, and he'd have to forfeit his title. They wanted him to take some time off with that non-displaced fracture, but he'd have to forfeit the WWE Championship. So he decided he's going to fight on. So it's like, what kind of, like, do WWE and AEW share the same doctors where they just clear these people who clearly aren't supposed to be competing? Because if you have a hairline fracture in your jaw, you probably shouldn't be allowed to compete even if you want to. So I'm wondering if Dr. Sampson is pulling double duty there. Anyway, McIntyre cuts a good promo on Randy Orton. They do the gag that Orton did a few weeks ago where he showed a bunch of people that he had punted in the head, and they had a great picture of Ric Flair crying. This time, Drew McIntyre brings up a picture of all the people that he Claymore kicked, and I'm going to see if I can bring that up real quick. Let's see if it works. There it is. Actually, it's they did a lot more Photoshop on it than they did for Randy Orton's thing with the punt kicks. You got Seth Rollins with his nose broken. I think that's Bobby Lashley. Is that the Big Show? I guess it's got to be the Big Show from the main event of WrestleMania, the dark match main event. Dolph Ziggler, Randy Orton he's got the good one there, and of course Brock Lesnar. I thought it was cute. It is whatever. It's not as horrible as some of the stuff that they've given to baby faces in the past. They're really going hard with WWE official Adam Pearce as well. Adam Pearce comes out and says Orton might not be able to face you in a title match at Clash of Champions. I almost called it Night of Champions. So tonight, your match against Keith Lee becomes more than just bragging rights. If Lee beats you and Orton can't make it to Clash of Champions, then Keith Lee will face you for the WWE Championship. And by the way, Drew McIntyre changed the match to an ambulance match. So that gives you a nice gimmicky, goofy way to get the title off of Drew McIntyre without having to pin him. I imagine Retribution will definitely get involved in that. And Randy Orton will be the new champion at Clash of Champions. I just feel like that's where it's going to go. Keith Lee comes out, they shake hands. Okay. And they actually did some really good stuff with Keith Lee and Drew McIntyre, but again, it's too much too soon with Keith Lee for me. And I'm just really worried that they're just throwing a whole bunch of stuff in with Keith Lee, and then it's going to be, well, what do we do with him next? He's only And his outfit was terrible too. Oh my gosh, the fat guy singlet. Ugh. Whatever. Anyway, we got champions versus champions. Raw Tag Team Champions, the Street Profits versus SmackDown Tag Team Champions, Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura. This was just super fun and made me remember why I miss Cesaro so much on Monday nights. Man, this guy is so good. The bell rings, starts off right away, uppercut, takes down Montez Ford. There was a nasty, super, super nasty bump that Montez Ford had to take on the barricade. So he went for a somersault plancha, of course, because everybody does that. Every friggin' match has to have a somersault plancha. Well, Nakamura and Cesaro catch him and just kind of watch what happens to his back here. This is nasty. Oops, sorry. That is a really stiff, high velocity power bomb onto the edge of that barricade, and you have to ask the question, why? Why do that bump in this match that means nothing to this Raw whatsoever? Look at how his back bends. You're telling me that you know, that if you're a precisionist, that you can, you know, execute that move and he'll be fine 10 times out of 10? No way. You know, one bad angle and this guy could be really jacked up. I mean, he might be jacked up anyway. Look at how his back is. Why did they have to throw him in with such velocity? And why are you letting one of your one of the guys with the most potential of anybody on the roster right now to be like a superstar, Montez Ford? You know, they have to calm down the mannerisms a little bit, but this guy is just oozing charisma. He's got a great moveset. He's an unbelievable athlete. This guy could be really could be something. Him and Angelo Dawkins could be something on their, you know, in their own rights as singles competitors, or, you know, even as a tag team. They're really great. But why are you letting him take that bump? Why? Who's signed off on that? That just doesn't make any sense to me. It's an impressive bump. It's impressive. But it did nothing. It didn't have anything to do with the match. It didn't have anything to do with the match at all. So why do it? It doesn't make. I'll never understand that one. I just won't. It's cool, but I'm not gonna get it. Anyway, Street Profits win after Angelo Dawkins hits Cesaro with a frog splash. So they had a really good match here. It was a lot of fun. That's all. You know, like. But here's what I would have done different, you know, about this Raw. I would have opened up the show with this Champions versus Champions match, because you're going against Monday Night Football, and here again, it's like, you know, change up the damn formula of the show. Okay, you're putting on like they hot shotted a bunch of matches onto the show tonight to compete, you know, or attempt to compete against Monday Night Football. They wanted to throw all of their eggs in the basket and, you know, make some waves. So why not change up the formula a little bit? Why start with a promo? And McIntyre's promo was fine, and it set the tone for the main event. That's fine, but you could also do it at the 9 o'clock hour, because you'd still have an hour and a half to wait for the main event. You would still have that hour and a half, and you could still do the brawling with Drew McIntyre and Keith Lee. Why not open up with the Champions versus Champions match? And just like start it off with some action. It's like, okay, well, you know, this match is really freaking good. I'm not going to turn this off yet. But the promo, it's like, I'll catch a replay, whatever. I don't need to see a long ass promo. I'll start watching football instead. You know, it's like little things like that. It's like they don't think. Angel Garza flirting with Lana backstage. As soon as I knew it. I knew as soon as I saw him flirting with Lana, everybody's going to be like, it's because of Miro and AEW. It's like, no, it's not. It has nothing to do with that. Nothing. And come on. God, like, please. What was that? Did you hear that? Did somebody just subscribe? I don't know. I don't know what that meant. Anyway, Cedric Alexander cuts a really good promo with the Hurt Business. So MVP comes out with the Hurt Business. Business is booming. The CEO, Bobby Lashley, is firmly in possession of the United States Championship. Shelton Benjamin upgraded from the gold standard to platinum, and Cedric Alexander is officially with them. Cedric Alexander says his social media blew up with whiners talking to him about turning on his friends. Alexander says this job, that this is his job, and he'll do whatever he has to do when he has to do it. No one knows what it's like to be me, to come to Raw and get beat up by 3 bigger men. On Tuesday, I'm so sore I can't even play with my wife, with my kids, and spend time with my wife. Being with Ricochet left me hurting. And then, of course, Ricochet and Apollo Crews interrupt, and they took this really great promo from Cedric Alexander. I mean, like, he actually cut it really, really well. And he's been doing a great job so far with all this stuff. And then Ricochet started talking. And it's like, Jesus, God, please, I'm begging you, don't ever let Ricochet talk on television again. Please. He's horrible. It's bad enough that he already has, like, no personality that you can really latch onto. He's got a great flashy moveset. But again, flashy movesets don't do anything for anybody except, you know, cause injuries to your cervical. So, you know, you need to have something else behind it. It can't just be all about the flips. and he's got nothing. He really has no personality whatsoever. None. They got the most out of they got the most out of him that they could by having him face Brock Lesnar at Saudi Arabia. That was the peak of his career. That's as high as it's gonna get. That's as high as it's gonna get. Or maybe low blowing him at the Royal Rumble, which caused Brock Lesnar's elimination. When Drew McIntyre claymored him over the top rope. Maybe that was Ricochet's big moment. But he's got nothing else. So you got to put him with a manager, and you can't ever allow him to talk again, because he is gonna die on television. He's self-immolating every single time. It's terrible. It's sad to watch. Sad to watch. So anyway, Cedric said, they said, we always had your back, and Cedric said that's wrong. How many times did I catch a beating for you, Apollo, when you were the United States champion? And Shelton Benjamin says he doesn't owe them an explanation, and Ricochet goes, mind your own business. But it's like, God, dude, go away. Now, that being said, horrible promo, great match. Cedric Alexander versus Ricochet, I really enjoyed that one. And the lumbar check, man, oh man, like just the finish, like that was probably my favorite part of this entire thing. And not just because it was over, but like because this was actually really like stupid impressive and stupid cool. Here, check this out. If you didn't see Raw, I hunted down this GIF so you could see it, because this was probably one of the best lumbar checks in the history of lumbar checks. Look at how he sold that. That was great. Say what you want about Ricochet in the promos, and I just said a lot. The guy can sell in the ring. He can sell a move. I'm not saying that he can sell to get you to care about him, but he can make a move look really cool the way he takes it. And that was pretty damn cool. Anyway, so another good showing for Cedric. Another good showing, and I predicted that if he's joined the Hurt Business, he's going to be the one that takes off the most. Yeah, Frank's talking about Barney the dinosaur is more believable and threatening than Ricochet. Yeah, Cedric, CJ saying that Ricochet has the personality of a brick. It's so true. It's so true. And Cedric, he was being anchored down by Ricochet, and it's amazing. It's really great to watch this guy kind of blossoming. It's 2 weeks in. This is his second Raw as a heel, or and he's figuring out his heel persona. He's dialed things back. He's more aggressive. I really liked, just the offense that he was showing with just kicks and stiff. It looked really, really good, and I really, really enjoyed that. Now, after the lights went off, Retribution appears on the screen, and Jesus Christ, you thought Ricochet's promo was bad? This Retribution stuff, it's problematic, and there's no other way to put it. It's just a steaming pile of shit. Like, maybe the Retribution idea was had something to it. Maybe it could have been cool, but once they sent out the clowns, the midgets on SmackDown, where the top rope was towering over most of their heads, and they had a chainsaw and they're cutting down the ropes, and that's the only way that they can make them look taller than the ropes, was to cut them down. It's a total joke now. It's a total joke. And now that they're cutting these promos, they essentially said that we're from the Performance Center. We believed our time at the Performance Center would lead to fame. We refuse to suck up to the regime. While you enjoy the last days of oblivion, we're prepared to show who we are. We are the product of empty promises, lies, and betrayal. They once trusted, but now they want with open eyes. It's like, what the hell? God. It was shit. It was shit. Now, I did notice, because they did zoom in on the people. They definitely had, obviously one of them we've talked about before, Dominic Dijakovic. Mercedes Martinez was in there. I do believe one of them is Mia Yim. I thought one of them was Caden Carter, but I mistook that for Mercedes Martinez, so I'm going to throw that out. Shane Thorne, Dio Madden, and I've heard Mojo Rawley's name being thrown in there, but other than Dominic Dijakovic and Mercedes Martinez, Mia Yim, she's Keith Lee's girlfriend and whatever. It's like, I don't see what the hype is. When I watch her on NXT, there's nothing really there for me. Shane Thorne is just a big bland nothing burger. Dio Madden, I haven't seen him enough. Maybe he could be good. But most of these guys, other than Dominic Dijakovic and Mercedes Martinez, it's like it's like a rogues gallery or a murderer's row of who gives a shit about these people? Who cares? They weren't interesting before. They're not going to be interesting now that they're running around with masks and they're running around in a group. They're not going to be fucking. It's just going to be a fucking disaster. It's going to be like it's going to be like the Nexus, but they skip over when the Nexus was cool and they crushed Ricky Steamboat and they tore the ring apart and they main evented SummerSlam with Bret the Hitman Hart on Team WWE. You know, his last SummerSlam main event. It's gonna skip right to the part where Nexus is dying and they're bringing John Cena in and John Cena is just thwarting them at every single angle. You know, this is Nexus, but the death of Nexus. They're never gonna get to the hot streak of Nexus. This is just it's crap. It's crap. Yeah, and CJ's right. Dio Madden's best moment was standing up to Brock. I still think I think it's Mia Yim. I still think it's Mia Yim. It could very well it could be Karen Q, but I'm gonna hold tight to Mia Yim on that one. Frankie says that the issue here is not the promo itself because I like the weird Darth Vader nonsense. It's the issue that the NXT guys are too small, too green, and too little, too late. I agree with that second half, but the issue is also promos, because you know, if you're watching a polished television show and you're into like you're watching like a sci-fi movie, you can expect to have dull dialogue, right? You know, you can expect in a James Bond movie that the bad guy, before they try to kill James Bond and walk out of the room, they're going to tell him their entire evil plan in some spooky monologue. They'll tell him everything. You expect that kind of camp, that kind of corniness. And yes, to a certain extent, I do think that wrestling has, there's camp in wrestling, and it has its place. But usually camp in wrestling has its place with mid-card acts, small acts, not the main event stuff. And not saying that Retribution's ever going to be like real main event, like once it gets revealed who all these people are. But right now they're pushing them, to a certain degree. They script these promos, and they try to make it seem like it's a worked reality show, right? With acrobatic matches or whatever, but for the most part, it's supposed to be like, you're supposed to believe this stuff. And it's like, once they start talking, I cease to believe. And if I'm ceasing to believe, and they've been doing these promos for years now, people don't believe in these promos, and it shows. And it's like, yeah, we can blame cutting the cord. We can make a million excuses for, and some of them are valid, and some of them are, the boy who cried wolf. It's like there's nothing really to it, but at the end of the day, there is a connection problem with the audience. And don't throw me YouTube numbers. People will just, they'll watch things, but that doesn't add up to revenue, like money that gets poured into the company. Yes, they'll get ad revenue, and that's great for them, but the real money comes with like turning these people into real-time viewers who want to not only just consume your content, they also want to buy your merchandise. They want to go to the shows. They want to do all this stuff. Yeah, we can't go to the shows right now, but they can still buy merchandise, and merchandise numbers aren't there. There's a connection issue, and and there's no denying it. WWE admits it. Wall Street has caught on to it. Real analysts, not just me, have caught on to this. And if you're gonna keep writing shit promos like that, you're and starting people off on the wrong foot, and killing them before they even get a chance to get going, they're always going to be stuck with their tires in the mud. That's all there is to it. The promos are just garbage. I see what Frank's saying. It's like he goes, also this stuff about the substance of the promo is right. Who gives a damn about the false promise nonsense? There's a reason why the Shield stopped cutting those kinds of promos during their first month or two. Yes, I agree. like, oh my God, the boys in the back held me down. That works in the indies, not WWE, because nobody cares. Like they just don't. Anyway, I think they killed them dead. And Victoria, now that you have just returned, what do you think about this Retribution thing? And just real quick, because I kind of just talked about it a bunch.
I'm not feeling it. I was at first because I thought that maybe something kind of cool would have come out of it, but it just seems like there's really going to be. I think it was one of those things where they have an idea for something, but then again, not thinking about the long term, like really what's the end goal, and I don't think it's going to be anybody of substance, who's going to be coming out and revealing themselves. And I don't know when you reveal. Like, I don't know when now is the time to reveal. Like, how long do you think they're going to have now where they're going to, like, drag this out for? How, like, what's the time frame that you think they're going to have?
I don't know. And I see what CJ says, too, in the chat room. He says it can't just be a connection issue because the other issue is the hardcore is pushing the casuals away. Now, I agree with that. I have said that many times on the show that the hardcores, they've kind of made wrestling supremely uncool, especially when you go to a show. I'm sure that there have been families that have brought their kids to shows and they said, okay, I'll do it that once, but I'm never going back to that again. I'm not bringing my kids around these kinds of people here. No, but that excuse kind of goes out the window because, yeah, I guess if you talk about it, like if you're watching the show and then you want to go on YouTube and talk about it, you're going to run into the hardcores. But the casual person who's just tuning in isn't going to go on Twitter and talk about it. It's like, so,
no, they're not.
So not having the crowd there right now. I mean, yeah, we had the live stream execution, but these are things you have to look for.
Yeah.
Like, I like when it happened, I didn't notice it, probably because I was in the Thunderdome and I didn't see it. But like people looked, I never would have caught that Chris Benoit picture either, but people go through it frame by frame looking for something, or maybe like the person who found it was the one who did it, but there's no crowd right now. There's no hardcores to push them away. WWE can control the noise. They can control the presentation of the show. So right now it really, like, now more than ever, it becomes a connection issue because you don't have like all the other excuses are out the window. And they've had since March over 6 or 7 months or blah 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 since this damn pandemic began, and they haven't advanced anything. No. Anyway, we're talking too much about Retribution. It just stinks, and we'll talk more about them in a little bit. Now, speaking of stuff that stinks, this match with Asuka and Mickie James, they gave them they got a little time during right before the commercial break, and then when they came back, they were fighting like they were just in a 20-minute match, and they were they're both exhausted, they're trading punches. Mickie goes for the Asuka lock, they're duking it out in the second half of this match after the commercial break. And they're doing stuff as if they had like this giant classic going on. Right. But meanwhile, we only saw 2 minutes of the match before they went to commercial. And I was like, okay, God bless Mickie. She's trying really, really hard.
Effort.
I think she knows that, she's in the last stages of her career. This very well might be her last title opportunity. She just turned 41 on August 31st,
which is 100 years old.
Which is 100 years old to Vince McMahon for sure. That's another thing. I got to go back and talk about Retribution again because I got to talk about Vince real quick. But anyway, they tried really hard, but something happened. I mean, some people were saying that Mickie James looked like she might have got her bell rung, and that's why they ended the match. I didn't see that, and I didn't catch that whatsoever. I rewound it and watched it again. I didn't see
that
anywhere where Mickie James could have gotten her bell rung, and the weird facial expressions that she had there. She was trying to counter the Asuka lock into a pin, and then the referee just ended the match. And I don't know if it was a timing issue, like they were going too long because they had to get Zelina Vega out there and they didn't want to cut any time from anything else. But he just ended the match, and Mickey's face was just like, "What?" That was her face. She's like, "Huh?" Like I'll see if I can try to find a GIF of that. But what a disaster!
I think with Asuka and Mickie James, what's probably like the reason why they're not connecting, and it's not even just because of different styles per se, but I think it's just different times. You know, like Mickey James is used to wrestling a group of individuals who used to wrestle a certain way.
Right.
And Asuka is very hardcore. You know, she's kind of able to, she's obviously adapted to wrestling with individuals who have a stronger background of wrestling and technicality, you know, those type of things. But I don't think Mickey James obviously is up to Asuka's level in that aspect.
No, I wouldn't say that.
And I don't, and it's not an age thing. I think it's just a timing thing. I think what Mickey James used to do and what Asuka does now is different. It's kind of like this, you know, Maurice, right? And the reason why I'm bringing her up is because she was Divas champion for like the longest time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the time that she was in the division, she was considered like really good, right?
Sure.
Her character was, you know, she was feisty and fierce and, you know, that conceited blonde who, you know, her shit don't stink type thing, right? But in terms of like her wrestling, she can't match up to anybody now in the ring.
No, of course not.
Right. But what I'm saying is, and I'm not saying Mickey James is bad by any means. You know, she's obviously one of the, you know, people in the company who's been substantial. But what I'm saying is like, it's just different now.
Well, her time has come and gone. And, you know, like when she came back, they didn't do anything with her. You know, it's kind of like when the Hardy Boys came back in 2017 and then they just wanted them to go back to being Matt and Jeff from 2000.
And you can't do that. You have
know,
to evolve.
Like I was watching Mickey James come out tonight and I was listening to her theme song. And the very first thought in my mind was like, God, like she's had that theme song for, God, like 15 years.
It's 8.
There's just no advancements. It's like yeah, she's using the song that she had when she was over, you know, a bunch of years ago. But like once you get to that point, they never advance them any further. You know, especially when you leave and come back, they just want to do like the nostalgia tour, and it's like, you know, why do a nostalgia tour? Like these people are these are talented people. Why don't you just keep advancing their character, keep moving them forward,
but to that,
instead of doing the greatest hits of Mickey James?
Yeah, and it's like because nobody knows the greatest hits of Mickey James, so. And again, to that casual fan, it's like, I don't really know who this person is, you know? She may have been great at one time. I'm not seeing that now. Right. So nobody's connecting to that.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is just Asuka's at a different level than Mickey James is. And I'm not disputing anything that Mickey James has done in the past. I'm not saying that. But when you have totally different eras of wrestling, it does clash.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We want to say hello to John L. Jackson in the chat room, and he says, I would much rather Bianca Belair challenging for the championship. Yeah. I agree, but you know what? At this point, let's just save Bianca for a bigger show than Clash of Champions,
and a bigger time.
Yeah, where she's gonna be like lost on the card.
But I do get what he's saying.
And CJ saying that John Cena had his theme song for 15 years, but the John Cena character has gone through multiple iterations, and it's not really the theme song. The theme song is just kind of like a symptom of the overall issue with Mickey James, where it's just like, you know, it's not just the theme song that hasn't changed. It's like Mickey James herself is still doing the exact same shit that she did like 15 years ago, and it's like another reason why it's like, why even care? Anyway. So that stunk. I felt bad for them because I know they were working hard. I know they wanted it to be a good match. I know that Asuka wanted to give Mickey James a good match, but it wasn't. There's only
so much you can do.
It's only so much you can do. Bobby Lashley beat Eric from the Viking Raiders. Eric, whose poor friend has an injury to his cervical, beat him by submission. So that was fun. Braun Strowman shows up and he's going to Raw Underground. I can't wait to talk about this. It's gonna be fun. Seth Rollins beats up Murphy backstage, slaps him around, and tells him to stay in the back. We have a steel cage match with Seth Rollins and Dominic Mysterio. Again, something that would have been nice to know last week instead of just halfway through the week.
Right, exactly.
But we don't plan anything out ahead of time. Anyway, Rollins and Dominic, they had a good match. And once again, Dominic represented the Mysterio family very, very well. But again, he came up short. He lost to Seth Rollins again, even after the Mysterios all tried to help him out and, Ray got involved and Murphy took out Ray, and then Murphy accidentally hit Rollins with the cage door, and Dominic knocked Murphy off the cage and hit Rollins with the frog splash, and still it's not enough to keep down Seth Rollins. And look, I get it. Seth Rollins is he's a main event guy. And Dominic is very much not a main event guy right now. He's very much a new guy. But with this level of storyline, with what they've done to Dominic, with the passion of Dominic Mysterio on that one Raw, if Dominic's not going to ever get a win over Seth Rollins, it's just got to end now, because it's going to become like an Humberto Carrillo situation, but like Humberto Carrillo on steroids, because he's Dominic Mysterio and that name does carry some weight. The Mysterio name carries weight, so he won't be relegated to main event duty and completely forgotten about. But he takes it to Seth Rollins and he looks good against Seth Rollins, but it's so redundant now. It's okay, it's almost to the point where it's okay, if they're in the ring with Murphy, they're gonna win. But if they're in the ring with Seth Rollins, no one's winning, not even Ray.
But to play devil's advocate here for just 1 minute, and you might be saying to yourself, no, it's too far down the line. Let's just say, obviously Dominic never gets that win over Seth Rollins, right? And it just kind of just dissipates and whatever. But is that motivation then for him to turn heel? Because anytime that he's, like you said, he's gotten help from his family, his whatever, is there a bigger picture in the sense of is this a build to something to that effect? Or is it not only because I do want to have, Dominic and Ray together more before they actually fight each other?
I would have Dominic and Ray. I mean, they only had two tag matches together, and then Ray tore his tricep. If they're planning on Dominic and Ray at WrestleMania, that's too soon. I want to see Dominic and Ray tag team
up for a little while
and be under Ray's tutelage for a year and a half.
Okay.
It shouldn't happen at WrestleMania 37. That should happen at WrestleMania 38.
Gotcha.
The big match.
So what you're saying is that
Dominic and Ray should be going for a year and a half.
So right now, it's not benefiting him to be losing in a sense, like you said, if he's not ever going to get that win.
No,
because of the fact that that's something you're foreseeing further down the line. So it's not going to get that motivation right now to turn heel against his father.
And from a storytelling perspective, it's okay, Rey Mysterio is great, obviously. But, if we're going to tell the story that the Mysterio family are perennial losers, it's going to be okay, well, it's because they've done 15 fake retirement angles with Ray, and Dominic can't hold his father's jockstrap eventually.
Right.
That's how it'll seem to, any, a casual person watching, or
Got
whatever.
I was just curious what your mindset
was. I get it. It's Seth Rollins. It's but what would losing to Dominic do to Seth Rollins? What would it do? It would do nothing to Seth Rollins. It would take nothing away from Seth Rollins whatsoever. And it would do wonders for Dominic Mysterio. He'll always have that in his cap.
Maybe they will.
And I'm saying that it can't happen. I'm not saying that it can't happen.
No, of course.
But it's what else do we have to do? I mean, everything's been a gimmicked match. Even when Dominic beat Murphy straight up in a singles match, it really wasn't straight up because it was his family beating on him and he quit.
I see what you're saying. I was just and again,
there's no decisive wins for Dominic.
I was only playing devil's advocate because if they are going with the route of
of course they're going to go with that route eventually.
Right. I didn't know if it was an eventual thing or if it was a short term thing.
Of course, but
who knows?
So anyway, Kit Dyson's in the chat room tonight.
Hello.
Hello, Kit. He says Hell in a Cell's coming up, but I have at this point I just want to move on. Hell in a Cell's coming up in November. I don't want to go through another month of more Dominic and Seth and Murphy matches, and and even when Dominic if Dominic were to beat Seth Rollins in a Hell in a Cell match, it's going to be because friggin' Murphy turned on him. It's not going to be Dominic will just get by on the skin of his teeth again, and he'll never look like a guy that could hold his father's jockstrap. His dad was the Giant Killer. His dad was beating legitimate superstars at Dominic's age. It's we can play the age card and just say oh well, he's so young and we have to build him up slowly, but they're gonna build it up slowly.
With lineage, it doesn't work. You kind of want to establish that dominance pretty quickly.
Right. I know Hell in a Cell's in October. I reported it. I misspoke. It was on November 1st. Now it's on October 25th. Interestingly enough, they still have NXT UK Takeover Dublin booked for October 25th as well. So I'm sure that's going to have to be moved eventually. NXT UK is coming back this week. So another pandemic casualty is coming back. But like even if Rollins gets beaten at Hell in a Cell, it's going to be some tomfoolery with Murphy. It's like, okay, but it's all that's going to do is just further a storyline with Murphy and Seth Rollins,
but not do anything for
Dominic. What will be next for Dominic?
I hear what you're saying.
What, just go back to like, waiting for his dad's tricep to heal up, and then they go for the tag titles. It's like, okay, that's cool. And then you know how they treat tag team champions in his company. Although they've done a decent job with the Street Profits. Now, Drew McIntyre's cutting a promo with Charlie Caruso. Keith Lee comes up, and they're kind of having a little disagreement now because Keith Lee said he'll do whatever it takes and even go after McIntyre's jaw. McIntyre hit him with a really stiff punch because Keith Lee was putting his hands on him too many times. And they got into a great brawl backstage that left I mean, they were really, really just slugging the crap out of each other.
They're going to be hurt.
I mean, Drew had like a giant welt on his arm, like over here. It was so...
Tomorrow they're going to wake up sore.
Oh, I loved it. I love, as Jim Ross says, I love the hoss match. The hoss.
I love a good beatdown.
I love a hoss match.
I love a good kind of like just punches being
thrown. The old slobber knocker. Anyway, we go to Raw Underground. Braun Strowman is just beating the shit out of people. Titus O'Neil comes in. He gets choked out. Riddick Moss and Dolph Ziggler are just trying their hardest to take him down. And
Ziggler
Braun
got a
just
break
keeps
from his commentary.
Yeah, I know. It's like so weird. It's like, I would rather be on Raw commentary than have to face Braun Strowman, but whatever. Riddick Moss and Ziggler kept trying, and Strowman creamed Riddick Moss with a pretty good forearm. And then he power slams Ziggler. Dabba-Kato gets in the ring or gets on the platform at the end. Has a face off with Braun Strowman. So the one time I've been excited about Raw Underground.
Me too.
But you know what? You know what was good about it was like Braun Strowman. Like this is a great way to use it. Like Braun Strowman, it's like anything goes. Here comes Braun Strowman, and he's pissed off and he wants to take it out on a bunch of losers. That's what Raw Underground is, I guess.
See,
it's not really it's not a vehicle to promote anybody except for Dabba-Kato. It's just to beat up losers every week. It's fun. I had fun watching.
Yes, me too. And you know what? If they kept it if they did something different with it than the initial purpose of it, I would say like, okay, cool, this is fun. And when they did tonight with Braun Strowman, great, awesome. Keep it going. They can't do that every week though, because that's not essentially what their goal is to do it with this. But I heavily enjoyed Braun Strowman just beating everybody's butt.
Oh God, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to watch. Now, what wasn't a lot of fun to watch was Kevin Owens versus Aleister Black, and I think the less said about this match, the better.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can we just not talk about it?
I just want to say it's really odd that WWE, we were just talking before about how they control the narrative here, and they control the crowd noise and everything because it's all piped in. Either the guy fell asleep at the switch or like he was told like, well, this is a filler match, so don't put any crowd noise on this at all.
Do anything.
But God Almighty, it didn't even go through a commercial break. It was just, you're already yawning thinking about it. It was so boring. God,
it was boring.
There was nothing to this match at all.
I think what I'll do is, when you get like a second wind, because I'm exhausted right now, but when you get a second wind and you're just kind of overtired, I will watch this match tonight to put myself to sleep.
Put you right to sleep. Put you right to sleep.
If anybody's having trouble sleeping tonight, just put this, because some people in the chat, they're like they watch the show, like they listen to our show, but they're not going to watch Raw. But if you're having really trouble sleeping tonight, just watch this match.
Yeah.
It's just I'm prescribing this match to you as a form of sleep.
Oh, there's no more powerful sleeping pill than professional wrestling when you're tired.
But this match, yeah, perfect.
This match, perfect. Keith Lee and Drew McIntyre brawling again.
I just love the intermittent like brawling segments.
That was pretty funny. I did say, and it's I'm not really trying to denigrate Nia Jax here, but she took Lana and put her at a bad angle through that. I mean, I would have put Lana, from behind the table so that there's no chance of like any of those like those side panels hitting Lana in the back or Nia Jax in the back for that matter.
Yeah, exactly.
But she took her at a really weird angle where her neck could have definitely grazed that. Ooh. Everything was fine. Everything was totally fine. But when she was holding when Nia Jax was holding Lana up to slam her to the table after their very short Riot Squad defeat of Natalya and Lana, Natalya never even tagged into the match. I did say a little prayer for Lana. I was like, oh God, don't kill her. Exactly. And finally, we got Drew McIntyre versus Keith Lee in the main event. A good Haas fight. I really like. There was a couple moments in this match that I really liked. Particularly, like they were just slugging, beating the crap out of each other. But when Drew McIntyre got Keith Lee over for a belly to belly, I was like, yeah, that was pretty cool. That's a great move. It's a great shot right there. I got pretty excited watching that. And I was like, that's a good match. And I was kind of curious of I was like, oh, Randy Orton's definitely coming out, but instead it was Retribution. Okay, and this is what I want to say about Vince McMahon real quick. It's like,
here we go, everybody. It's a Mike rant.
It's not gonna be a rant. It's not gonna be a rant.
Oh, is it though? I don't know.
No, I don't know. But it's like, like these guys, like. Like I talked about that SmackDown angle where they had the chainsaw and they're such rogues that now they're assigned to the Raw roster and they've kept their assignment. Like, oh yes, they are so dangerous that they got
that they're very scheduled and they're very
right. They got put on an arbitrary roster and they're following directions. They're following the regime. They're kissing up the regime.
Why are they following authority?
The Vince McMahon of old. Like, Jesus Christ. I mean, like, we talk about how he's lost like a step or two with the storytelling aspects and stuff like that. I still think he's really sharp. I think as a businessman, just purely as a businessman, I think Vince McMahon is sharp. I think the way I think the way he deals with Wall Street people, he always gives very concise, clear answers. Sometimes they're really just total bullshit.
He wouldn't be where he is today if he wasn't smart.
He's savvy. He's very savvy.
Exactly.
Even at 75, he's still a better businessman than
most.
A great handful of people.
Yes,
and he's been successful at this for a long time. Most of his success is just living off of things from the past and nostalgia. But nonetheless, he's survived. And they always do pull a rabbit out of the hat during big times of the year. But the Vince McMahon of old, first of all, like storylines, not having anything planned ahead of time, like that, I know, like during the Attitude Era, they were writing Raws, like that week, going against, they had the monitor, everybody's watching what WCW's doing, WCW's watching what Raw's doing, so they're writing, for their competition then, but. Back in the day, God, like the guy had like storylines planned, like there were arcs to characters, there were big, and that's why we remember those characters so much. But anyway, I don't want to get into that. The Vince McMahon of old never, ever, ever, ever would have put these fucking midgets into a stable and had them take down, his top star, especially his champion. There's no goddamn chance of that. The closest that we ever got to a tiny person taking down the champion back in Vince's heyday was Zeus going after Hulk Hogan, and that was only because Zeus was in a movie with him.
And that was it. That was literally the only reason.
Me? Like the Vince McMahon of old would never have allowed this to happen. It's like this is such a diminished Vince. Well,
here's the thing.
To even allow.
It's that attention to detail. That's you don't think it's important. You think it's because they're wearing all black and who really is going to notice? But it is. You notice. You definitely notice it, especially when you're looking at individuals like Drew McIntyre and Keith Lee in the ring. Come on, it's not a good look. You have to pay attention to those details. You have to make sure that everything's kind of accounted for, even if it's not. Even obviously, let's just put it this way. Who's ever doing the Retribution stuff is not necessarily going to be the one that's the big reveal at the end of the day, right? No,
they're getting closer to it. The people that are cutting the promos are going to be the guys.
Oh yeah, the promos definitely, but what I'm saying, the physical attacks, not necessarily, right?
I agree.
So you need to kind of pay attention to those details. You need to pay attention to the fact that if you're going to have them do something, they need to be able to look a certain way, play a certain role. And
Yeah.
get those guys that maybe, again, not really doing anything right now in the company. They're just kind of there in NXT or whatever, right? Or whoever they're getting as more people to look a certain part.
Yeah. I mean, like a few years ago, he was booking, Roman Reigns, one versus all matches, and Roman was still, Braun Strowman ran through the entire tag team division, like these tiny little midgets, and then of course, it's like, 20 guys out there, whatever number they had. I didn't count because I didn't care enough to count.
Yeah. But roughly.
But then the Hurt business comes out, and it's just 4 guys, and they take an even match to 15 of them. So it's like Keith Lee and Drew McIntyre are like the big guys. They couldn't take it to them, but I granted they just had a match, but I don't know.
I know what you're saying. It's that
it's just
it's continuity.
Okay,
it's detail. It's not it doesn't make sense.
Essentially, what I'm saying is Retribution sucks. That's pretty much what I'm saying.
And you know what though?
And you know what? Like this ending sucked too because of what happened to Ivar, and there's too many goddamn dives. It's like, yeah, it's cool that Drew McIntyre and Keith Lee did a dive on everybody, but it's not.
What's bothersome about the whole thing is the fact that there's again, there was a lot of potential with Underground, right? It's kind of going in its own weird direction. And the same thing with Retribution. The concept of Retribution is a great concept. Yeah. It's the execution of everything.
I don't even think it's that great of a concept.
I like it. I don't mind it. I think it's pretty
we've
good.
Seen the invasion angle many times.
We have, but I like this idea. I like the name Retribution. I like it. But I find that the whole thing it's always the execution of things. It's like these major ideas, but then it's like when it's finally time to actually implement them, then that's where they flounder.
And how about this? Like okay, so Retribution attacks them. Drew McIntyre said earlier in the night, like, one bad shot to my jaw and my jaw will be wired shut. It's like you just put 20 guys on top of Drew McIntyre kicking the crap out of him. Nobody broke his jaw. Like they're like. I'm just saying,
but
Retribution
details, and more details.
Retribution
is shit.
It's just really bad. But that doesn't hinder from the fact that this was a good Raw. It's they hot-shotted a bunch of stuff, and next week, I'm very curious to see what kind of diminished version of Raw we're gonna get. It can't be this every week, though, obviously.
No.
So there's gonna be some, regression.
And when's the season premiere?
Probably beginning of October.
Okay.
There will be some regression, for next week, of course. Can't be in your face every single week, but generally
face.
When you just throw a whole bunch of crowd pleasing, fan favorite stuff, and put a bunch of cool little matchups together, even if they don't have finishes, if it's good action, you still feel good coming away from it at the end of the night. And as much as I don't like the Retribution, I didn't like any of these angles with them. I thought everything was shit tonight with them. For the most part, I thought this was a really a well done episode of Raw. I enjoyed almost everything, and it really did whiz by for me. It really was a fast Raw, so I got to give that a thumbs up. What do you say, Victoria?
I do the same thing.
Chat room, we want to know what you say as well.
I didn't get to talk about Cedric Alexander while the chat's talking. He really. I enjoyed him tonight.
Yes.
I did. I really did. I like the promo that he cut, and I really just like how it's very simple that he wasn't getting where he needed to be. He wasn't advancing with, talking to Ricochet and everything, and just saying, I was an Apollo Crews saying, I wasn't getting anything from you guys. You weren't helping me, Now that I'm in the Hurt business, I'm finally getting...
Right. I'm showing the poll while you're doing this, and it's 62%. But what's trending right now?
Oh, geez, what's trending?
Hashtag pedo Trump.
Out of nowhere, like what? Like,
I don't know. I don't want to click on it. I'm really afraid.
Was there a demo? Wait. Was there like a debate tonight, or
no? No, but apparently he must have said something that was like pedo-ish, I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't even want to know. Like, what is happening?
Sometimes you just see these things. It's like, what?
What a world do we live in, though, where it's like, okay, our president is having there's a hashtag about him being a pedo.
Oh, my God.
What world is this? I don't even know.
So, just to reiterate, thumbs up. You like the Cedric Alexander thing?
Yes. I liked the Cedric Alexander thing. It wasn't the only thing I liked about Raw, but I did his showing tonight.
All right. So in the chat
and on
room,
that note, everyone, let's chat say.
So Jorge Oliva gives it an in-your-face thumbs up.
Oh, I like that.
CJ gives it a thumbs up. Cedric Alexander is a goddamn Black American icon. Agreed. Andrew Elder says thumbs up. Billy Hefner, way up. I had fun, but I'm beat. A lot of movement. LOL. Yeah, you gotta be like active in the Thunderdome where they kick you out. Machine Walls gives it a thumbs up. Oh, and everyone slap a like to this recap. Jorge Oliva says yes, very good. Please, thank you, Jorge. Please. 69 thumbs up, but the Raw post show is off the scales from Quentin.
Quentin. Hope you're feeling better.
He's our buddy. Nafis had to tap out, so we'll catch Nafis some other time.
He's not on the list.
No, Nafis will never be on the list. But yeah, I thought it was successful. And Mr. V says, sure, I will give it a thumbs up.
Sure.
I don't think he watched it, but he's gonna give it a thumbs up.
It's okay.
Anyway.
V knows where it's at.
V knows where it's at. If we like it, yeah, we have good credit with Mr. V. All right. So I don't think I hope I'm wrong, but I doubt our coverage next week will be extremely positive because I again can't hot shot it.
You never
can't
know.
Hot shot it Raw every week.
You never know.
You know, if they just start telling, if they could just come up with a coherent story arc for a couple characters, just keep you interested for the fall. I know. It's wishful thinking, but you know, just in case they come across this, please, for the love of God, tell us a coherent story.
I think they do come across this sometimes, but then they're like, and Tedesco's.
Hey, our numbers are going up. Yeah, I'm very happy with how the numbers have been lately. So
I think Paul has something to do with it. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Paul. Anyway, we're gonna sign off here because we gotta work tomorrow. But we want to thank all of you for hanging out with us and, you know, taking some time away from the end of the football game to hang out with us, and for your continued support of our show. You know, we really appreciate it. And number 98 next week. Pretty good. Bam. On that note, I'm Mike Tedesco, the editor-in-chief of Wrestleview.com.
And I'm Victoria Tedesco.
She is. And have a great week, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.